Hello, and welcome to Secure Talk, a podcast where we explore the critical world of information security innovation and compliance. I'm your host, Justin Beals, founder and CEO of StrikeGraph. Together with our expert guests, we'll provide you tools and tips to help your business thrive in the rapidly evolving cybersecurity environment. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Secure Talk. I'm your host, Justin Beals. Today, we are talking with a Chief Information Security Officer at a cybersecurity company. Not only is the role responsible for protecting the organization from digital threats, but the business is building the security tools that other companies depend on to stay safe. It's like being a locksmith who has to secure both the locksmith shop and create the most secure locks in the world. Except the burglars are getting smarter every day, and they seem to never sleep. The dual responsibility creates a fascinating dynamic that most security leaders never experience. You're simultaneously the customer and the creator, the protector and the product builder. Every security decision you make internally becomes a real-world test case for the solutions your company sells to thousands of other organizations. Today's cybersecurity landscape is more complex than ever before. We're living through what many consider a revolution in endpoint management and device security. The traditional perimeter, those firewalls and secure office networks we once relied on, has essentially vanished. Your employees are working from coffee shops in Barcelona or co-working spaces in Denver, the kitchen table in a suburban home, or deep in the studio like me. Each device is its own fortress that must defend itself in hostile territory. At the same time, artificial intelligence is transforming how we detect threats, analyze incidents, and respond to attacks. Security operations centers that once required teams of analysts working around the clock are being augmented, and in some cases replaced, by AI systems that can process thousands of alerts simultaneously and predict threats before they materialize. Of course, the stakes have never been higher. A single unpatched server, one compromised device, or a successful social engineering attack can bring down entire organizations. We've seen this repeatedly, from major cloud outages that affect millions to sophisticated supply chain attacks that compromise critical infrastructure. What makes this conversation particularly compelling is that we're talking with someone who operates at both the strategic and the tactical level of modern cybersecurity. Someone who understands not just the theory of zero trust architecture and AI-powered threat detection, but the daily reality of implementing these technologies while building products that tens of thousands of other organizations depend on for their own security. Kanji, where our guest serves as both the CIO and the CISO, has become a major player in the Apple device management space, helping organizations secure and manage Mac, iPhone, iPad deployments at scale. They've built what many consider one of the most intuitive and powerful mobile device management platforms available today, creating that crucial harmony between IT operations and security that so many organizations struggle to achieve. So today we're diving deep into the mind of a security leader who lives and breathes the intersection of product development and enterprise security. We'll explore how AI is reshaping the cybersecurity industry, why mobile device management has become the new security perimeter, and what keeps a paranoid CISO awake at 2 a.m. sending security questions to his team. Please join me in welcoming Satyam Patel, who is a distinguished cybersecurity leader with over 25 years of experience safeguarding organizations from evolving digital threats. Currently serving as the CIO and CISO at Kanji since February of 2025, Patel previously held the CISO position at 247.ai for 4 years, where he spearheaded enterprise cybersecurity initiatives that significantly reduced security breaches and data leaks. His impressive career includes leadership roles at CSA Group, TD Bank, Spin Master, and several other prominent organizations where he consistently implemented innovative security frameworks and achieved successful compliance metrics. Please join me in welcoming Satyam to the podcast today. Satyam, thanks for joining us today on Secure Talk. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Justin. Looking forward to be here.
Excellent. You are a CISO at Kanji, and I find this a really interesting role because not only are you providing security for your business, but your business is security as a company as well.
Absolutely.
Um, and this kind of intersection is always really interesting to me. Have you worked in both the security products? Like, did you have experience in this and were excited, or is this a little bit of a difference in working at Kanji to have both feet?
I have previous experience with security products before, but Kanji is obviously is very new and it's an exciting place to be right now, given the fact that we're creating harmony between IT and security together. Making executives better decisions on providing security as well. So it's a very very different landscape.
Just in that phrase, you point out something that I think is interesting about your philosophy.
Yeah,
Making IT and security work better together means that they've been separated on some level. Yeah, you
absolutely.
must see this both as a CISO and thinking about the product space as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I had the opportunity to be a CIO before as well as a CISO in past. And currently I serve role as a CISO and a CIO for Kanji. So I get the opportunity to work with both sides of the team. And given my industry in past and experience, it's always been a contention between IT and security, right? So Kanji's kind of taken a very conscious approach. You know what? How do we make sure create a better harmony to make sure that we protect the access, protect the infrastructure best we can, and having these two organizations work together is very important.
So you've been at Kanji now about 4 to 6 months, I think. You're still in the honeymoon phase a little bit.
That's
Is that
correct.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's correct.
And what attracted you to the opportunity in working with the team there?
Yeah. I mean, Adam, our CEO, has done a fantastic job building this company from ground up, and he's made this company more collaborative and cohesive. I went through a bunch of interview processes and just the fact that I was a Kanji customer before this too. So having the experience with Kanji products and tools and customer service, and it was just been fantastic. And having experience with different products in the past as well, you can see that they're kind of step ahead of everybody else. And then Adam convinced us to be on site and show us the entire location and having this beautiful collaborative site put together so that we can walk up to somebody and help them work together has been kind of, I would say, more icebreaker to be on board. Honeymoon phase, I think it's going to go on forever, it seems like, because
That's
the
great.
culture
Yeah.
is absolutely fantastic to be here.
Yeah, it is a fairly new company, 2018. Is that right?
That's correct. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and of course, endpoint management, device management has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm a little curious, and if you feel comfortable expressing kind of what the strategic differentiation or the problem opportunity space was for Kanji.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still new to the role, so I'm still learning exactly what was facing Kanji in past. But what I see so far is that the customer feedback has been fantastic when it comes to comparative to other tools, other vendors out there. The fact that Kanji's taken a very strong approach of, like I mentioned, creating a strong harmony between IT and security together. One dashboard, one single source of truth has probably has resonated really well with the customers, CIOs, CISOs across the board, and they see the value. Say, you know what? Hey, we just see one source, make a decision much easier for us, and let's just patch. Let's make sure our asset is protected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, Joining as a new CISO in an organization, I think there's always this challenge of how much to change and how much to keep, and of course, it's based upon kind of the environment you're coming into.
Absolutely.
How were you thinking of the opportunity, or how do you get into that rhythm of understanding where growth should be and where there already is good success and you're happy maintaining it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Justin. When I first came on board, obviously right before that, there was a lot of anxiety, anticipation. So, you know what? Hey, what am I going to change? What am I going to look across and see how many holes or gaps I can find? Just trying to see what I can do and remediate. Coming on board, obviously we do some exercise, some assessment on board, and realize the fact that Kanji's done a really great job protecting the infrastructure, building products and infrastructure by design and by default. So everything from ground up has security mindset built into it. So it made my life much easy. It made convincing the CEO much easier. So they said we are protected in a lot of ways, and we have kind of implemented a zero trust methodology across the board. So everything gets device trust, everything gets authenticated, everything gets verified 2 times before it gets access to anything as well. So um, I would say I got less heartburn starting the right away and was able to kind of accept the fact that, hey, we are kind of business as usual. But obviously, we're always trying to be step ahead of threat actors, right? So we're also want to make sure, like, what else can we do to make sure that 1% chance of us being, uh, I would say, breached, we want to make sure we don't get there. So it's always a work ahead of us too.
Yeah. I think what you're expressing here is that Kanji already had a good culture of security,
Absolutely.
from top to bottom a little bit. That's something is huge as a CISO, instead of having to come in and rebuild that culture of security.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a great thing you mentioned, because one of the things to realize in past experience, the fact that you almost have to convince the senior management team that this is what we implement, this is budget we need to, our tools we can implement, our compliance we have to compliance we got to follow, and then kind of go out and ask for the budgeting. But our senior management team has been very, very understanding and very open to the idea of, hey, let's do whatever necessary to protect the company. As a matter of fact, I'm meeting Adam, our CEO, last week, and he made it clear it's not a request, it's a mandate to protect our company at any cost.
Wow, yeah, that's huge. So it's interesting because I was just talking with another colleague recently about getting the budget approved, or people to understand what it is that security does or why it's valuable.
Yeah.
One of the common cudgels in these discussions is compliance, where you're like, well, if we don't do this security, then we won't get that contract.
Yeah.
And is that a tool in your toolkit there, Satyam?
Yeah. I do use that once in a while. So right now we're looking to add additional frameworks and compliance from our compliance strategy. So I do use that and say, hey, listen, we got to do additional compliance programs just to make sure that we are actually just to make sure we're actually talking to other verticals of the market industries that we're compliant with, other frameworks out there. So yes, I do use that. But I don't use compliance as a security measuring stick anymore. I haven't for the last few years. I find compliance is more of a soft check now compared to security actors, because threat actors are not looking, hey, this company stock to compliance, so they're safe. They don't see that. They just look for anything to kind of get access to environment.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of your expertise, and you think that, if you have a good base where your focus is in the threat vector, what threats are coming at us and that we should be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. My motto always been in security is always like, it's 99% safe, it's still 100% vulnerable. It's that 1%, right? Any companies you see out there who may have good security programs, but they have got breached in past, is because of 1%. They left one server unpatched or one privileged access open and be able to get access to that. And threat actors are very smart. They know how to travel laterally once they access the environment.
Yeah. Do you think that your ability to focus on threat as a vector has a little bit to do with having some of those base elements of security in place, like culture or effective process? Like, it would be harder to focus on a threat-focused, go forward activity if you didn't have some of those foundational elements.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. Absolutely. You need a strong baseline, strong foundation for other discipline to be involved just before you can focus on threat vectors. But also by default, I'm a paranoid person. So that also helps me to make sure we're more secured as well.
What keeps you up at night then, Satyam? What's your big paranoia lately? Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's a 1% every day. It's a 1% of what can happen, right? And if anybody in my team I'll ask is, I get the Seinfeld moments at 2:00 in the morning and I send notes to them all the time. Say, hey, are we secure? Are we done this? Have we made sure the privileged access, or have we made sure the service account has multi-factor authentication turned on, right? So yeah, it's always that paranoia. And I feel that's why I'm in the right position for a company as a CISO, because paranoia really helps for you to think ahead. Because in cybersecurity, I always felt that comfort is worse addiction. You can never get too comfortable. You get too comfortable, then you're just you're looking for something that potentially can happen down the road.
Yeah. So I'm a little curious about your perspective of certainly the cybersecurity product market around endpoint protection.
Yeah,
You both work, at a mobile device management company, and you're a buyer, I'm sure, of security tools around endpoint management and things like that. Yeah.
absolutely.
So how do you how do you line up some of these both purchasing decisions for your org and informing some of the product roadmap that you want?
Yeah, I mean, I work very closely with the product teams. Given the fact that I have experience in past with other EDR and endpoint management tools, and the fact that we're also, developing products ourselves, always that gives a good competitive edge. Be able to give a product team kind of feedback as well in the end. We're also customer zero. So we're also practice what we preach, right? Any product we put out there, we also deploy within our environment as well, and to see how it's reacting, how is performing as well. So I was like, I forget the commercial back in '90s. You remember, used to say like, I'm not only a client but I'm also a customer. I have the hair restoration commercial, something like that.
That's
I feel like
yeah.
it's that, right? So
Yeah.
it's but EDR and endpoint and identity, I think, is probably the new perimeter, right? Having a strong MDM, a strong EDR product, you could put your asset anywhere in jungle or in dark web, it will protect you. That's what you want to get to. We can't get to the point where the endpoint or asset needs to be behind a firewall to protect it. We want to give flexibility to our employees or flexibility to our customers that this should be anywhere in the world and feel comfortable that it's protected. It could be in Starbucks or it could be anywhere else in public Wi-Fi. They know they're protected.
Yeah. It's interesting to think longitudinally about how these devices have changed. I have been in the computer science space for quite a while.
Yeah.
There were thicker clients, and then we went very thinner with terminal work, and
that's right.
They get a little thicker, and it's a constantly flexing issue of the threats. It's just such a porous vector.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think. My background has been infrastructure for years. So I was a big firewall guy, load balancer guy, infrastructure security, things like that, right? But been in the endpoint space and being in the EDR space and being a CISO for the last 5-6 years, I realized the fact that the flexibility of employees is also important. User experience is also important. We can't force employees to VPN in an environment to get protected. We got to make sure that employees or a team or customers could be anywhere in the world. And they should feel comfortable that they're protected.
Yeah.
And MDM and EDR helps us get there.
Yeah. Apple, I think, has been a good leader, along with Microsoft in some ways, in the securitization. And I remember back when they first started operating, including the BSD, subsystem in their operating systems. And I was like, I really appreciate that there's some Linux under there and I can get to a good terminal. How do you see the Apple ecosystem then? Is it a very strong ecosystem, tools like Kanji helping reinforce that privacy that Apple starts with?
Oh, absolutely. I know Apple had a big stance on privacy for years and years at a time, but I think Apple is, and I think along with Kanji's support and other vendors out there, Apple has kind of opened the doors of protecting, right? It almost like it's a balance between data privacy versus data security, and I find there's a little bit, data security is a little bit edge over data privacy because the consequences of you losing your potential social security number or PII information and consequences a lot more higher. So I feel like people are so focused on privacy, it is a little bit softer compared to security. Because if I lose my identity, if I lose my social security number, it takes months and years to kind of get back to par again.
Yeah.
So I think Apple understands that and realizes that. So now they're actually really emphasizing on security quite a bit, even for like, if your iCloud account, you need multi-factor authentication turned on. You need, device trust turned on before they even allow you to change your password even.
Yeah. I think that's an important point in a lot of these perimeter tools. That one of those perimeters is the human being operating that computer. How do you think about the handoff between what technology can provide from a security perspective and what you want the operator to provide?
So you're saying it's more AI based or more like, hey, is this
the human being?
that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, human beings are prone to more errors, so
Yeah.
they'll have some sort of errors out there, and if it's a computer machine doing it, it's rinse and repeat over and over again. One time we do it right, it's over and over again the same thing, right? And human beings, there's always a play of either fatigue, tiredness, making mistakes, right? So play a stronger role in that. I find having a computer or any kind of a automation makes a bigger difference when it comes to protecting the company's security. And even like on the expanding on the security side specifically, like security incidents, event management tools, and SOC analysts and things like that as well. Next 5 years is the entire concept of, hey, let's automate as much as we can, right? And because they want to get that human intervention out of the play right now completely.
Yeah. They do, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's going to impact all of our industries. I think we're all just tapping into translating that. How do we're right on the precipice. You must be looking at some AI tools as a part of your cybersecurity suite.
Absolutely.
How do you balance, trust in that system with humans? Are you doing double duty a little bit at first?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, paranoia plays first priority, right? So absolutely, we want to double check and triple check that the AI rules or the automation is working as designed, right? So before even allow it to make decisions on its own. So yeah, in our ecosystem, cybersecurity, we are leveraging a lot of AI tools right now, specifically for security. But then when you bring AI play in there, then you got to worry about AI adoption, secure AI governance. Is there any open source tools behind it? Third party reviews come play a role as well, a stronger role in it. But I would say last 2 years, AI tools in cybersecurity has taken a giant leap when it comes to just security specifically. Like for example, we're had a very healthy debate with my team of potentially what is more safer. Do you want to have a SOC team, a security operations center team built in house with people, analysts looking at the dashboard all day and deciding triaging alerts, or do you want to have an AI SOC analyst that's basically correlating rules for you and deciding which rules based on impact and probability automatically triage for you, right? So it was a very strong, healthy debate, and teams started to agree the fact that, hey, AI SOC analyst, it is probably an end goal, but we want to get to we want to get the comfort of the fact that the AI SOC analyst is making the right decision for us, because we don't want to miss a potential serious incident if it is happening, or some sort of a anomaly that we should be looking at. So I think perfectly said it is a mix between human and AI right now.
Right in the transition point, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I see this levers like where we're like it's running alongside of us, and we're saying, do we see similar results to what I see with my own eyes?
Exactly.
Then we're human in the loop. It's raising things at a bar that I set, that could be greedy, and that I'm getting a lot of, false positive, false negatives.
Exactly.
But then you start to trust it and you start to turn it on. Do you see a future where, I think there's a lot of thought that companies that used to take a lot of people can shrink the number of people dramatically over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I definitely see it. I see anywhere where it's mundane IT and security tasks, I see AI coming in and taking that. Especially like in call center business where agents are taking calls. Agentic AIs are already replacing that. I had a call with the CISO'S about 2 months ago or something. He works for a huge BPO company, and he's telling me that they're testing AI agent right now that can take 10,000 calls a day.
Wow.
That is like different compared to one agent, a human taking a call, and 2 minutes a call. It's just complete replacement, and they can order a process for you as well.
Mm.
So in cybersecurity, same thing is coming down as well. I'm very sure.
Do you think that the best innovation from as a CISO adopting tools has been more in the analyst side with the AI tools for security, like being able to run those analytics on an event or incident? Or are there other vectors of, or styles of product in the cybersecurity space that you're seeing make big leaps with AI?
I think it's across the board everywhere. I think across the board within cybersecurity is everywhere. Anywhere we feel that the tools are becoming too noisy, AI has been very strong, supportive of being able to reducing the white noise, reducing alerts, reducing any kind of just thousands of alerts coming in, and AI is able to kind of parse through all of them and tell us one or two alerts could be real, the rest of them are just white noise, right? So it's been fantastic. We're constantly looking at more tools out there. Even within Kanji, we're also looking to build more tools as we go as well, right? So it's always that. So how do we make sure that we stay ahead of? In my mindset, I feel like that's why I kind of felt I clicked really well with the executive team here, because I feel like the Kanji's point where, hey, we want to stay step ahead of threat actors. Let's not get too comfortable. Let's not be too reactive. Let's make sure how proactive are we. And on top of that, I think the AI is going to help us where the humans can't help us is the predictive analysis part. I think this is where the cybersecurity industry is going to take on. It's like, I remember that movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise. It's like predicting the threat before it happens. And I feel like the AI is going to help us get there in cybersecurity.
That would be very powerful. I think we've talked a lot recently about AI may not be as accurate sometimes as a human being, but it can take in a breadth of information that really a human being can't store in their head anymore.
Absolutely.
And so, like, to your point, where I need a breadth of information, all of things that are happening in an ecosystem, it can, synthesize that to a prediction, right or wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
exactly. And the effective decision making as well, right? It's like the human mind will always try to question before making a decision of something. AI just knows it's either robotics, black or white. Is it a threat or not, or is it something else? Is it the decision based on rules we put together?
Yeah. One thing I was curious about, we love asking CISOs about this, is just kind of how they organize both inside the organization and internally. So, for example, as a CISO, you certainly have security responsibility for the organization, but what about things like software development lifecycle or other aspects? How do you think about your purview inside the org?
Yeah, it's everything from design. So we are, and as I mentioned before, Kanji has always been very security culture oriented. So I'm also in charge of, I also work with the developers on the CI/CD pipeline, soft development lifecycle pipeline. So we go as left as possible. So when we product or the iterations coming on, my team's heavily involved from the get-go, from designing the product from security mindset. So as we're designing, as we're iterating, as we go, there's a gating process put between it. So we're not wasting too many cycles for developers as well, and making sure we do threat modeling between, we're making sure we do pen testing of all tools as well. So it is from the get-go, the fact the product is secure from a design perspective.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of like process decisions, like we saw it in here in the cycle and that type of work as well. Yeah,
exactly. And we don't want to get to the point where development cycles at 90% complete and then we get involved. And then if we find something that we have to go back and restart all over again. So we're more involved from the beginning, saying, hey, there's a gating process every time there's an iteration coming on. So we're only wasting a small amount of time if there's a fix to be done.
Yeah. You have to, I've often told people that I think you could say security and operations are almost the same thing. Like they really interleave together.
Absolutely. So I'm sure you heard the concept of SecOps, right? Security operations. So that's exactly what we're driving towards. So we built basically a SecOps operation across the entire company. So everybody thinks security from a get-go, right? Yeah. It is that. So any conversation we have, when I first came on board, that was a culture shock for me when I first came on board, because my previous organization has always been, I have to go find and I have to go do a road show, say, this is what we're doing security side. But in Kanji, people coming to me, say, hey, we're doing this. What does security think of this? So it's been very, very different approach. And I'm very appreciative of that, to be honest. That, they're coming to us for a feedback.
Yeah. There are points at which you need to tell someone that they have a responsibility, to contribute to security. Yeah. How do you like to formulate their understanding? Do you use this is your control? Is there a model to how you map and track that?
Oh yeah, it's compliance. We have a strong GRC program, so we're not only doing compliance only, we also have governance risk program as well. So compliance really kind of gets a certificate for us. We have controls that we measure against, map against. But a governance risk is where we have accountability and we have a measuring stick. So how everybody's held accountable for that as well, right? So we have a strong discipline process put together of risk remediation or SLAs. How are we actually everybody any risk has identified, the extensive team has to acknowledge a remediation, or at least within a certain time frame based on criticality, and they have to also remediate also within our SLA time frame as well. If they don't, then that report goes to CEO directly as well. So it's been, like I said, it's been very strong culture and it's adoptive, and accountability is across the board everywhere.
Yeah, that's really, I think that's, you're interleaving that operational characteristic, what the compliance outcome is, and then the security practice broadly. Maybe I'll ask then, like, what is the compliance landscape looking like for Kanji, maybe from past, and how you think about the future? And I think a lot of this is tied to business strategy, like where you want to sell and what their sensitivities are. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So Kanji has done a really good job when it comes to compliance strategy and actually adopting a bunch of SOC 2s, ISO frameworks. So we're SOC 2s Type 2 certified. We're also ISO 27001 as well as 42001. So we're probably one of the only few companies in US right now are AI governance certified right now as well. But we do have a stronger roadmap across to hit the different verticals too. So that's going to probably cover a lot of different things. And I think you said it perfectly. It has to align with the business strategy and how we want to sell as well. So, but I also try to take a step above that because I try to go on a zero trust. So forget compliance. I just want to make sure I don't trust anybody. I don't trust my own employees. I also don't trust outside people. So anybody tries to access any Kanji data internally, externally has to be verified twice before they log into the application. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And we've gone above and beyond. Like, for example, we also device trust in our applications too now. So they have to have a Kanji device before they get accepted application to use as well.
I think the double identification is an interesting, just flat out rule set, right? We can hold that as a given commandment one.
Exactly. I don't want anybody from bad neighborhoods of internet trying to log into our applications at all, right? If they don't have device trust, they can't log in. Simple.
That's really good. You go beyond compliance. I think that's great. I think everyone should. And some people are, of course, just starting out and working for that first outcome. I'm curious, just your take on the future of compliance. We see a proliferation of more and more frameworks coming out and requirements hitting organizations. Yeah, it feels like one of those got to be a technology solution type of problems in the space. Do you agree?
Absolutely. 100% I agree. Yeah. I mean, if you just look at any kind of GRC tools out there, I know you have GRC tool you own as well. It's almost like you have so many different compliance, but if you look at the rule set underneath, the controls underneath of it, I would say 50, 60% are probably similar. Then just small delta on top of that. Like, for example, if you look at high trust compliance probably covers GDPR and HIPAA by default automatically. Right. And then maybe most of the SOC 2, most of ISO as well, right? So yes, different countries, different regulations are coming, different compliance requirements, and we have to kind of apply ourselves to those. But the fundamentals, I feel, still the same.
Yeah. I mean, of course, this is the area where we do a lot of work, but it is interesting to me that I think I like this model where there's an operational characteristic, like a control.
Absolutely.
And that's ours. Like Kanji owns that, StrikeGraph owns that.
That's right.
The organization owns. That's what we're going to operate.
Yeah.
It's not the framework that defines security. I think of it as a measuring tool. Yeah,
I agree. Absolutely. It's accountability in the end, right? Who owns what and how are they measuring themselves against it too?
Yeah,
I agree.
What do you, other than staying on top of the worst vulnerabilities and kind of the changing landscape of IT infrastructure, where do you think the future of some of this endpoint management is going? Like, what are you paranoid about protecting endpoints from, coming up?
Yeah. I mean, the idea of protecting laptops sitting behind firewalls, I think it's kind of less and less because people are more mobile, people are more remote, people are using the phone, iPads, Surface devices to protect the infrastructure. To do more work, to be more productive. So I feel that we're just probably at the crossroads on MDM and remote devices and protecting devices. I feel like MDM might be the one that's going to really kind of combine a lot of security and also enable the customers and clients to be anywhere in the world and feel comfortable, that feel confident that they're protected. So I feel MDM industry or MDM tools specifically will probably expand further, and have this. And that's why I feel like Kanji is in a right marketing place where, hey, MDM is the beginning. Now EDR, now vulnerability management, all's coming together. And so we're not have one single source of truth. So if a client is looking at the Kanji dashboard or anybody else, they know exactly that device is protected.
Yeah. It's it's such an intriguing, like when I think about the mobile space, and I've done some software development projects in the mobile space. I'm not a deep expert. It is the most complicated, fractured areas of like operating systems and form factors and networks and
that's right. And then open source applications you put on top of that, right?
So I know, right? Yeah,
exactly.
And then regulatory issues where they're pulling, things apart, like a store or a marketplace in which you can buy software. And
that's right. And a third-party risk on top of that, the software you buy, how do you know that developer is not coming from bad neighborhoods of internet as well, right? And design product that could potentially exfiltrating data. And that's why I feel like mobile security is going to be big and down. It's just getting bigger and bigger. And if I think about it, like I've seen so many stories in the past where, building intelligence on people doing that on mobile devices is getting much. Like I saw some story the other day where some girl graduated from university, so she's posting a degree online. And then 2 years before that, she posted a driver's license online. Say, I got a driver's license, right? So now the social engineers out there are actually building an identity based on, she's graduate from XY university. Her driver's license from this state is this address because zoomed into it, right? Now they're building intelligence on it. And now they can potentially find a way to call a phone company that she could be working, or she could have a phone device from, and they can easily just, hey, I'm person XYZ, I could do SIM swap, right?
Yeah.
And do SIM swap and automatically get access to the entire phone, and then can wipe her entire phone, her bank account, everything is well part of that. So I feel mobile security is the future in the end, because if you look at it anywhere in trains, buses, planes, people are on phones all the time. And they're chatting while they're doing banking, they're doing work, they're also doing a lot of stuff on it. And perfect example is Signal. Like what happened with the Department of Defense and sharing data on the Signal, right? So, it's security is very paramount. MDM is going to play a very strong role in that.
Yeah. That was the Signal thing is certainly frustrating. I think that I would agree that I don't know that I would trust, that app with especially nation state secrets.
Exactly.
I think there's I'm choosing my words. There's a lack of awareness.
And I think you said it perfectly. It is that. It's the awareness and education, right?
Yeah.
And I hope that people, just not professional, but also personal people who are using phones, are starting to get educated on mobile security and just what's out there, right? I mean, people can easily just use Instagram and get compromised by giving username and password, and they get locked out completely, right? So, and it's very, very important, I think. And that's one thing we do within Kanji and anywhere else as well. The fact that the employees or the clients or the end users are the weakest link in cyber chain. So educating them, very important.
I mean, to your point about the SIM swapping vulnerability, right? Like
that's right.
That's a social engineering attack up front.
That's right.
Can lead to massive data breaches through a simple device.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. I educate, like I said, my paranoia kicks in. So my kids, my wife don't use PIN code. We have alphanumeric on our phones as a password, because nobody can stand behind me, Solar Sheriff, and get my PIN code and try to get access to my phone as well, right? So I'm very, very strict on that when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's really good. So yeah, it is. And then the EDR side, so much data passes in and out of these
Yeah,
devices. You have to get pretty low to the metal to be listening in, of the actual device. That puts both the products you adopt, Kanji, your own product,
right.
as well as your customers in kind of a very privileged relationship with you guys.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There has to be a strong trust between us and our customers as well, right? They know the fact that we are an extension of them, right? That we're there protecting their device, their endpoint in the end. So we take our research very seriously. We take everything else very super seriously when it comes to making sure the fact that our product is locked down, that is doing the job that they're hard for us to do, is to make sure that because we do have barebone access to the device, we protect it best we can.
Yeah, that SDLC is critical.
Yeah.
I mean, just the risk goes through the roof when you're that close on the device. And
Exactly.
we've seen some, the CrowdStrike issue was a perfect example
Yeah.
of how important, picking a good vendor with a good SDLC is.
Well, absolutely, exactly. And like I said, we're very um, research and security culture oriented. And then, like I mentioned before, that people come to me ask questions. So if I didn't think of something, they come to me ask me questions. So that kind of helps me at least, be involved in every aspect of it. Like right now, we're heavily involved in product security as well right now. So as we design products or iterate products, we're making sure from the get-go that we're heavily engaged with them. So it's not something that they, because especially developers are, a lot of developers just say, I know what I'm doing and I'm going to continue doing that. But working closely with the security teams and prod security teams, it really helps them kind of create awareness education moving forward as well.
Yeah. Okay. One last future question that comes up. I'm sure you'll say I'm terrified of it, Justin. But just kind of the wearables marketplace. It feels like it grew a little bit and now it's static. But I was just looking at new glasses things and listening to Sergey Brin talk about the Google glasses and restarting that. That's another exposure area right at that MDM.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Anything that's remote or flexible, it is scary, but you can't stop it. So you got to find to adapt to it and just make sure that securely adapt to it the best I can, as we put it. I'm only worried about Skynet.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a different kind of philosophy to say, like, we as people that build these products, whether a CISO or a software engineer, have a responsibility to build it with security by design up front.
Yeah. I mean, I hope they all do. I hope they all do, right? But sometimes they're so focused on product and launches and margins, maybe they haven't employed the best security practices as well. So as anybody, as a consumer or as a client, sometimes you also want to do some research and making sure the fact that a product has been secure or kind of data the product has access to is also important.
Well, Satyam, I want to thank you for joining us today. You've given us a little peek into the CISO office at an amazing company, and also given us kind of a perspective of, right in this phase of getting the project started and starting to integrate well, and how to analyze it. So thanks for joining Secure Talk.
I appreciate it. Thanks again, Justin. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful.